Bitcoin and risk-on assets like small cap stocks are appropriately cooling off a bit as we get ready to officially kick off the holiday season. In this video, I want to take a look at a few of my personal favorite crypto names, including BTC, RIOT, Mara, and Render, and let you guys know how far I think they can pull back from here as far as the short term goes in order to hopefully give us the opportunity to shark up more of these names at what I believe are a discount. The key word there, what I believe will be a discount. I think that this is a short-term correction and not a crash. I think the BTC and all of the names we're discussing today will rally into the new year, if not into the new year, then early Q1 of 2025. And I do believe that there is going to be another wave coming in this overall bull market cycle. So in order to reinforce that belief a little bit, I do want to take a look at a couple of articles, quickly go over what's going on, why we're pulling back, if it isn't somewhat obvious, just from a from a cyclical perspective, and reinforce that belief. So before we get into the charts, before we kick anything off, if you guys want early access to these videos, if you want to become an official member of the Waves YouTube channel, of my YouTube channel, then just hit the join button right below this video. I don't make all of these public. I actually make less than half of these videos public, and it's usually days after I post them. So if you want immediate access and sometimes all exclusive access to these videos, hit the join button and yeah, appreciate it if you join. Also, before we get into the charts, before we get into some of these articles, I want to quickly read over just the intro to the newsletter I wrote this morning, my trade analysis newsletter, talk about what's going on, not only with Bitcoin, but small caps overall, and kind of the macro backdrop as we prepare to move into Thanksgiving and, again, officially kick off the holiday season. And I just want to read over a few short words here that preface or summarize my macro thesis. Okay, so Palantir, I mentioned Palantir because pretty much all risk assets pulled back today, aside from Palantir. So thank God that's one of our largest positions over Waves Capital. First link in the description if you guys want to trade with us on a daily basis. But the Fed minutes came off hesitant in regard to future rate cuts, which is bad news for stocks, but the markets didn't seem to be too fazed by the news. So I referenced this in my flash trade newsletter that I wrote early this morning, right after I make my trades of the day. And I thought it would have a pretty significant impact on the markets, but it didn't. And that's ultimately, in my opinion, pretty good news for Bitcoin and growth assets, growth stocks like small caps, as I said, because it shows that investors are just hungry for these assets. Okay, investors know that the Fed is ultimately in a cutting cycle. We're no longer in a rate raising environment, which is overall good news for risk assets in general and stocks overall. But it's just good to know that kind of this bearish sentiment coming out of Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve didn't take too much of a toll on small cap stocks. This macro environment is a tricky one to read as far as the short term is concerned, but I remain confident in our macro and medium to long term thesis that small cap stocks and risk on assets will outperform mega caps like the S&P 500, the NASDAQ 100, Dow Jones, etc. in the weeks and months ahead. And I'll continue to structure the portfolio with this in mind. Prepare to officially kick off the holidays with a nice half-day trading session tomorrow. This is relevant for members who are watching this today. And let's keep this right aligned, team. This has been an amazing week. Yesterday in the portfolio group, we locked in some amazing profits, talking like 2, 3, 4Xs from our C3 AI Inc. Palantir positions and Russell 2000 position. So if you guys want to ride with us, if you guys want to know how I'm trading my personal portfolio on a daily basis, every single trading day, writing these newsletters for you guys, I dedicate my life to this. So if you want to join, it's going to be the first link in the description. I have it on admin view, so I'm not going to go into that. It's going to be $15 a month, $40 for every 3 months, completely up to you. If you join, welcome to the winning team. As always, if you're riding with me, just your experience in the comments below really does mean a lot. And yeah, if you're new to the team, once again, welcome. We look forward to having you. Bitcoin is dropping. Bitcoin's dropping in price. And again, I want to talk to you guys about a pretty meaningful pattern that's shaping out that has a pretty high hit rate of panning out. And that is this head and shoulders pattern. Okay, I was going to jump into this article, but this makes sense to preface this article right here. Okay, so there is a pretty evident head and shoulders pattern printing here, and that will become even more evident in the case that Bitcoin does end up falling below $89,000, which I do think is likely. Okay, this pattern, as I'm sure many of you can already assume, is a head and shoulders pattern. Okay, a big move up, creating the arm line, a sideways range for an extended period of time, creating that shoulder line, a big move up, creating obviously the head, and then right now it looks to me like Bitcoin is thinking again, if we fall another 2 to 3% from here, and then trade sideways for a while, that will create the opposing and a symmetrical sideways range that will create the opposite shoulder line. Okay, if this does end up playing out, then I do think that there's a high likelihood that Bitcoin does fall back down, maybe as low as high 70s, but I personally don't think Bitcoin falls below like $81,000, $82,000. I can see a descent down to low to mid 80s in the weeks ahead if this head and shoulders pattern does play out. But from there, I do think, as this arrow implies, we're back off to the races and we rally into the new year, or at least go sideways and then rally in Q1 of 2025. And in my opinion, that's a pretty conservative estimate. Okay, so overall pullback target, I wouldn't be surprised at all if we do pull back to 82, 83K. And I also wouldn't be surprised if we just stop here, don't play out this head and shoulders, and rally to 100K and beyond. But if we do once again fall to this $88,000 region, just below 89K, I do think that this head and shoulders pattern becomes a lot more likely to play itself out. So if we do fall, again, low 80s is my target. That'll probably drag miners down with it and hopefully give us an opportunity to pick up some call options at a pretty extreme discount if we do fall that far. Okay, so did the 8% Bitcoin price drop change bulls' chance of hitting $100,000? There's one, like you guys can pause this if you want and read over it. But there's one area of this article, just a simple little paragraph right here that I want to read over that once again reinforces this technical argument. And this is also technical, but again, when you're talking about hype cycles and when kind of technicals are being surpassed and being overshadowed by fundamentals, which they are now, the fundamentals are so strong for Bitcoin that technicals kind of take the back seat. These things kind of mesh together. Okay, so this is kind of technical, kind of fundamental as well. If historical trends hold, Bitcoin's price may bottom around $82,500. Again, that comes right in line with my target for this potential head and shoulders pattern. A standard 17% correction from its all-time high and far from signaling a bear market. In comparison, during the correction between March 14th and May 16th, US spot Bitcoin ETFs showed little change, and MicroStrategy made a single purchase, 24,400 BTC. MicroStrategy getting pummeled today, which isn't surprising because it's been on absolute fire, and that thing is so... I mean, that thing is asking for a long squeeze, to be honest. But again, Bitcoin, I do think we pull back a little bit in the short term. Also, as I just said, I wouldn't be surprised if we just rally to 100K, six figures and beyond. But again, a pullback seems likely. But again, this is, as I alluded to in the beginning of this video, what I believe to be a short-term correction, a healthy correction that is a necessary evil, you could say, of all bull market cycles. And I just think that this is a pullback prior to new highs, as I said, and not a crash. I don't think Bitcoin is crashing from here. It's incredibly unlikely given the fundamental momentum, given just, the newfound optimism and just more discovery of what Bitcoin is and why it's important to pretty much all national financial systems. And this chart doesn't by no means explains why Bitcoin's pulling back, but it just makes sense. Okay, you can see here long-term Bitcoin holders are selling as institutions buy ETFs, and I actually think that this is a healthy. This could be perceived at face value as negative because they're like, you could believe all these people who have been holding Bitcoin for a long time, who are original believers in Bitcoin, are selling, and just the corporate America is buying, corporate institutions globally are buying. That could be perceived as negative, especially if you're like kind of a Bitcoin maximalist and prescribe to those beliefs. But all in all, you guys, this is just like long-term holders who got lucky and got into Bitcoin holding early, probably taking more profits off the table, which would be foolish not to. And that's proving itself based upon the pullback we've seen right under 100K. And it's overall very, very net positive that institutions are buying. You want institutional adoption. Institutional adoption is something that we've been talking about for years. That was really a turning point for Bitcoin. And I think BlackRock's interest in Bitcoin we saw earlier this year, might have been last year. I don't know, this year's so long. But BlackRock, as soon as BlackRock showed interest, that in my mind is what pretty much made this rally inevitable, on top of the halving earlier this year, on top of, the potential Trump presidency that we somewhat called out here on the channel. But overall, this is a good trend. Again, this is just long-term holders taking profits. Good for them. You should solidify some gains. It's foolish not to. And ultimately, institutions taking interest in buying up a lot of the sales from these individuals is just good news in my opinion. Again, the more institutional adoption, the more sovereign wealth interest, the better for BTC. Okay, and just remember, you guys, BTC is what, just like 2 trill. Keep in mind, gold is probably now I haven't checked in a while, $16 to $17 trillion asset class. Bitcoin's just better gold, so we have a long way to go to catch up to gold. I think when I made a video years ago talking about what the equivalents, if Bitcoin using the current circulating supply at the time of making the video, so it's going to be a little different. Roughly, if Bitcoin was to achieve even close to the market cap of gold at the time, it would have roughly translated to like a $500,000 Bitcoin. So is a $500,000 Bitcoin possible? Absolutely possible. And I think it's likelier than not in the years ahead. When, not if, at least that's my opinion. Okay, so that's that, you guys. Let's just take a look at Riot, Mara, and Render, and then call it a day. Okay, happy Thanksgiving in advance. So Riot, breaking hearts, continues to break hearts. But overall, you guys, as I said in the last video, patience pays with Riot. Like Riot, I don't even think the company is making any, I think the company is looking solid. I thought their recent earnings report was decent. These other companies are just doing better because they're playing that kind of, they're all copying MicroStrategy. I just saw like some random company. It's like Rumble. That Rumble app is creating a Bitcoin treasury just to try to emulate what MicroStrategy is doing, because they see their stock price going up, which is what Marathon just did. And I don't blame them, because that's clearly what investors want. But that's why I've never liked MicroStrategy. It's just, in my opinion, it's just an overhyped leverage Bitcoin play. And it's not even a leverage Bitcoin play. It's just a weird play on Bitcoin when you could just play the spot ETF like BITX or something. So again, I'm not shorting MicroStrategy. That would be foolish too, in my opinion, but I'm definitely not a buyer of MicroStrategy. Definitely not at these levels. But I think that Riot, given the fact that it's just been overshadowed by all of these shinier objects within the space, while maintaining a pretty solid business model and pretty solid operational progress as a company, is incredibly appealing. And I said this in my newsletter, in a recent newsletter, a week ago maybe, that I think that if Riot continues to underperform this meaningfully as Bitcoin climbs, I wouldn't be surprised at all if there is some sort of acquisition offer. They don't even need to be acquired, but even if you just get an acquisition offer by a larger entity, that's great news, because they're probably going to pay what would be perceived as fair value, which I would imagine is like not fair value, but if you're going to acquire a company, someone's going to offer them at least 5B plus. They're sitting at a market cap of 3.7B. And that would, even just like the news of that potential would send the stock up significantly. So this is completely speculative. But again, just due to their operational competency and just the value of the company itself and growth of the company itself, I wouldn't be surprised at all to see this. And again, very speculative, but most great trades that I've ever made have been pretty speculative. So Riot, I don't know how far we pull back. If we do pull back, like a simple target here is this line of what would be conservative support. That would translate to another 4 to 5% descent from here in the short term. But again, if Bitcoin climbs, if Bitcoin continues to rally, looks like Bitcoin's pretty green now that this watch list just recycled, 13 minutes ago. Maybe we rally. Maybe we don't. If we pull back, I'm buying more call options. If we keep rallying, then I'm riding the existing position I have. And I think that Riot has a very bright future ahead of it. Although it's been breaking hearts, so just stay strong when it comes to Riot, when it comes to the OG. Mara, I think definitely will be pulling back to, I feel like this is a pretty clear pullback target. I may look into reestablishing a Mara position if we do see it, and that would be 23 bucks. Okay, prior ceiling in the past, new floor. It would make sense that this comes into play as a new higher low on this very, very sharp uptrend. Worst case scenario for Mara, where I would definitely consider picking up some call options, would be like a 15 to 16% pullback into early December down to like 21 bucks. Okay. And that would be this line of conservative short-term support. Again, if Bitcoin rallies, it's pretty likely that Mara rallies as well. If Mara does rally, I wouldn't be surprised to see us retest if this channel is reclaimed, retest the top line of resistance, conservative on this ascending channel, take us to like 37 bucks by the new year. Okay. Let's take a look at Render and then we'll call it a day. Render is holding solid. Okay. So Render is clearly trapped within kind of this ascending channel while also hugging this line of broken long-term support. I thought this is a positive reaction following this break of long-term support. We are seeing some love, but obviously if Bitcoin's pulling back, Render and Ethereum's getting hammered right now. If Bitcoin are pulling back, it's rare that you won't see pretty much the entire market pull back a little bit. So Render, I don't have much to say in the short term from a technical perspective, but overall, the fact that we're holding steady shows me that investors are a lot less willing to sell than they were just a few months ago. And that's good news. Render, again, as far as actual value as a project goes, the Render project is so clearly, if executed well, if Jules Urbach and the team executes well, which is a big if, and I can't guarantee whether or not that's going to happen, but if they do execute, and I expect them to, because Jules Urbach is the founder of Otoy, and he's already a proven executor, so he's proven competency. I think that they will succeed in the long term, and I still think that in this cycle, 2025, I wouldn't be surprised to see Render achieve a market cap of $10 billion, maybe more dollars, but $10 billion market cap remains my first major profit target for Render token. So that's the video, you guys. Happy Thanksgiving, happy holidays. It's been a good time at Waves Cap, and I hope that the waves continue to roll in, and I hope that we keep this ride alive. Once again, if you want to trade with us, if you want my daily newsletters, it's going to be the first link in the description of this video. It's my complete portfolio daily trade alerts email newsletters. If you want these videos early, if you want them in a timely manner, then hit the join button below, and talk to me in the comments about whatever you guys want. I appreciate you watching, and until next time, always remember, take action, make waves. Peace.